has the high ground now? Hello there, PJ. Nice to
Hello.
see you.
Good to see
How are
you
you
too.
today?
Well, you can't see me right now, but
Well, yes, nice to hear you.
nice to see and hear you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm here in my Jedi robes. Just saw Obi-Wan the whole entire series. I watched it this morning, the finale, and then I watched the entire series, and I just finished it. And it's
Oh,
good.
is it though? Is
It's
it?
good.
It's okay. I thought it
That's
was
good.
okay.
It's not
Some people
like,
hate it, but I don't hate
yeah,
it.
yeah. No, but it's good. It's good. I love it. Uh, and upon rewatch, I feel like it's how usually those things work, anyways. Though I feel like if you're watching a serialized program, it always lands a little bit better on the rewatch. It's just when there's 15 episodes, it's hard to rewatch it in one day. But when there's six, it was easy. It's only like a 5 hour ish commitment. It's not too bad,
You
which I
notice
don't
how
mind.
on Disney Plus it said season finale, didn't say series
Yes.
finale. I stopped believing anything on Disney Plus that is called a mini series, or because they said that with Moon Knight and it wasn't.
Oh, Moon Knight's gonna come back. I didn't. I know it had a cliff. It
Well,
had
the
a pretty
way
big.
the
Yeah,
way
yeah.
it
It's true.
ends,
And
it's like yeah.
what's cool about Obi-Wan is that it ends in a way where if it didn't have an anymore, I feel like it's a complete series. But if it did continue, it it you, like this is pretty finalized as far as like the story that needed to be told, I think. And then if you wanted to do more, you could, but it doesn't have to. So I appreciate that. Like, it could be a hard stop. What do you think? Do you think
I
that's
think
true?
they should just. This was enough. I mean, this story was kind of pointless. I mean, it's like there's no stakes. I know people say like, well, it's a prequel, so you know who's going to survive. That's part of the deal, right? But we know Leia's going to get home. We know Obi-Wan is not going to kill Darth Vader. When Luke, Owen, and his wife are in quote unquote danger, you know nothing. There's nothing. There's no suspense. I mean, you're kind of just observing the action.
Yeah, I
And
can't argue that it's no stakes in that sense at all. And I can't really think of anything in it that really felt like there were stakes. But I watch a lot of, like, I guess, dramas that don't have stakes. And so I kind of looked at it just like if it was a drama slash tragedy. It was like it's more like, here's more. It doesn't change anything. It's not going to make you too crazy. There was anticipation, I feel like, for me week to week, but nothing. You're right. There was nothing like I. I wasn't worried, like, but
if you want,
I still enjoyed it for some reason though. I didn't mind that there were no stakes.
there was one. I think it was episode 4. I kind of didn't like, but every other one was okay to good. Like the first 3 episodes, I'm like, yeah, if this goes anywhere, this is gonna be great. Like it starts off well, I think, and then it meanders, and then we get the whole gotta rescue Leia again, and then episode 5 comes along, which is decent.
Well,
But
it's
I
like
think they
I
stuck
think
the
the
landing in terms
rescue,
of what they could do with the story. They
right?
did as much as they could, basically, at the end, and it was enjoyably predictable.
I like that, enjoyably predictable. The rescue, I feel like it's not that it didn't, like, that she needs to be rescued again. It's more like it was like that was kind of like like in my view, normally if you had stakes, you'd be like, oh no, he lost her. Now he's got to get her back. There's like a series of back and forth. I don't mind that too much, but
Yeah.
we gotta like a ooh thing and a like. Do you get to see that? Do you see the little?
No.
Oh, it's like a little face. That's funny. I don't know if that's something new from StreamYards, but we got a little face. Um, let's talk about the episode specifically, and then Friday we'll try to talk about the whole series. So you were last week, if I recall correctly, you were kind of hoping for more battle, like more duel.
Well, we talked about this a couple of times before. There needs to be a reason why Vader says in A New Hope, "Last we met, I was but the learner, and you were the master."
That's right. Do you feel like you got do you feel like
Mm.
you got it? Yeah,
In
it was a pretty
fact,
good fight, right?
After the episode, I immediately looked up that clip. I'm like, yeah, it works. It works now. Because, our friend father, he was like, well, what's the point? Because you know, th- it was assumed for the longest time by many people. Uh, Revenge of the Sith was the last time Obi-Wan saw him before New Hope. But now we have this whole story where they met a couple of times. 3 times, actually. They had three. They had 2 close encounters and 1, like, near encounter.
Right.
I do like the fact that it kind of shows Vader's obsession with Obi-Wan. And one of the best scenes in the episode is at the end when the Emperor's like, maybe your emotions for your old master are, like, clouding your... And it's like, not only do you realize that as an audience member, Vader realizes it too, and he's like, "Oh shit, yeah, who cares about him?" Because he goes and follows Obi-Wan instead of the job he was supposed to do, right?
Yeah, that was kind of lame. They could have even sent TIE fighters after. He could have, like, what I mean. I'm sure they had a whole squadron aboard the. Yeah, that part I can't excuse, but I still do. But
plotting.
it's like, it wasn't like thought out. I don't think, or maybe they were just like, we don't have the budget, let's forget it, or no one's gonna notice. This is not the. Those are not the things you're thinking about. I don't know, but real quick before you go on, I just want to point out you made me think of something I hadn't thought about, which is he's obsessed with him till like Return of the Jedi. He's even like, Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. Like he keeps blaming throughout all the way till the end of Return of the Jedi. Vader's like, it's Obi-Wan's fault. You're right. He's like obsessed with him. It's like that's a really cool observation. I hadn't thought about that. That's cool.
And why is he says follow Obi-Wan, and they're like, pew 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 at him. It's like, you're gonna follow him, just stop shooting. Like, if the whole point is to go to a, because the whole point is Vader knows that Obi-Wan is going, he senses it or something, that he's going to a place to fight him, and he's like, this is my chance.
Yeah, it's like he can't say no. It's like the Knight's code or whatever. Like, not necessarily, just the code of that world. Like of Jedis and Sith. Like you have to face them. But I also thought that was interesting. I think is it New Rockstars who points out, or maybe it's Ryan Erie who points out how, like, I don't know if you watch those guys at all, but they point out how, like, every episode's had like a kind of a similarity to the major films, and there's 6 episodes. And in this one, in Jedi, that's what kind of like what Luke does, is like he leaves the gang behind to go face Vader, because Luke was like, I have to go face Vader, and Obi-Wan comes to the same. So whether it was executed well or not, for me it was, but like I like that it paralleled Jedi in the sense that the final solution was that he had to just go ahead and face Vader. He had to leave everyone behind, and they were safer that way because Vader was obsessed with him. So I like that whole thing, just like Luke, Vader's obsessed with Luke. In Jedi. Michael in the audience says, and hello, Michael. Hello there. We finally know how Vader gets that scar we briefly see on his head, sans helmet. Yeah, that was cool. I thought Hayden Christensen crushed it when he was saying, you didn't kill Anakin. Obi-Wan. I did. And he has that smile. It was so creepy with the dual voice thing. I thought that was like pretty amazing.
Yeah, I thought that was a good idea to show Hayden's face with the mask, have him act through it, and to have that combination of the voice distortion going between Hayden and James Earl Jones. It was a great way to meld like the prequel Vader and the New Hope Vader.
The New Hope Vader. Did you like did you see the what's it called, the one in Rebels when Ahsoka does the same thing to him? So
I watched one episode of Rebels, I think. Yeah.
I think it's worth it to even just maybe go see that arc. It's like maybe a few episode arc. I think it holds as a standalone. But Ahsoka Tano, who you met in Mandalorian, then I guess, right, for the first time, Rosario Dawson's character, she actually has a dual with Anakin and slices. It's almost the exact same thing actually. Like they do the mix Vader and
Oh, do they?
Anakin voice, yeah, and but it's interesting. The slice is on the other side of his face, so she actually cuts open his mask, and it's like the same, like where you see the eye and everything like that. uh, the live action version's executed much better in my opinion. I think that's, if the show is stealing, I'm okay with it because they really that scene deserved to be here in a way. Like I think it was perfect for the Obi-Wan thing. But that's interesting. And then on the internet I saw it was pointed out that like Ahsoka cuts him on one side, revealing part of his face. Obi-Wan only gets to see part of his face, but Luke is the only one who gets to see his whole face when he takes his mask off
Oh yeah.
at the end. So it's poetry. It rhymes. It's like I love when Star Wars does that kind of stuff.
I probably would look up that specific episode. Maybe I don't know if I have the patience to watch.
Watch the arc, yeah, but it's a cool scene anyways. Like if you like the fight scenes, you'll see that it's almost like, if I'm recalling correctly, it's almost like the same kind of idea, like except it's the Ahsoka was his apprentice rather than his master. So yeah, but it was done beautifully. And when he yells Obi-Wan, like that was pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's the kind of nostalgia bait that I bought into. That maybe if Vader wasn't in the show and it was like the same kind of show, I'd be on like the side of some of our friends and be like, "What's the terrible time? I didn't like it," but I'm a sucker for the Darth Vader nostalgia bait. Some people may be insulted by it, but I mean, being a casual Star Wars fan, I don't know, it worked for me.
But you're definitely a fan of all the feature film. You've seen all the feature films, right? Including Rogue One and Solo.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of all
Not a
of
fan, but I
those.
mean, what I mean is you've
I
seen
like
them all.
Rogue One. Solo's like a TV. It's like a straight to video kind of deal.
Because this whole series, I think we'll talk about the series more on Friday, but I think this episode really, if you're an essentialist, there's so much you could cut out of the series because you only need like very little information really. But for me, like I was saying, I'm enjoying all the fluff they added in. I think it's cool because it just sparks my imagination and makes me wonder about this whole world at this time period, which is one of my favorite time periods. But it ties in nicely, I think, with more with Rogue One than with Solo, but it ties in nicely with Rogue One because of the Bail Organa, saying like, I have a friend, who I'm gonna, need to call on. He's been, hiding out since Order 66 or whatever. And they did it in such a clever way where it doesn't really change much. And I like also that Obi-Wan is gonna be kind of having more adventures. We may never see them. That's okay. But I like the idea that like that he's no longer like worried about Luke in a sense. He's kind of like trusting in the Force, and he knows that the Force is strongest with him when he's using it. Like if he just sits around and doesn't use the Force, he's gonna lose. He's never gonna be able to protect Luke anyways. So he's gonna go out there, and he's not afraid of Vader at all anymore. Like he saw Vader, like really pathetic in a way, like twice now. Like what I mean, he's all like Vader's all talk and it didn't it didn't pan out or whatever. And it was pretty sad. Like that's the thing about that duel is that it's awesome, but it's also very tragic and sad. Like they did a good job, I think, of making it like very emotional.
It's gonna take 9 years for Vader to become a true badass.
Yeah.
He's not quite the New Hope Vader.
I think this is the Emperor.
Rise.
Hello there.
This is the extent of Obi-Wan's character development.
My robe is cooler than your robe.
How many times can a man take off his hood in one show?
Come
Let's
on.
find out.
So we got
Your robe is way cooler. This is
we-
just a blanket.
we have hated it down here. We have media. It's okay over here, and we have loved it over here. So I feel this is gonna be the most balanced review of this episode. So I'm glad you're here, Ruben. Welcome.
I wouldn't say I hated it. I found it very bizarre.
Oh wow! So not a hate, but a bizarre. This is interesting. We can dive into
Which
that.
force power is there? Sorry,
Let's
I
see
was reading
here.
the comments.
Let's see here. By the way, audience, let us know what you thought of this episode. Michael says, I've heard that they use some sort of computer generated software to emulate James Earl Jones' voice. Man, if that's true, I gotta admit it works really well. Yeah, I think they're really perfecting that technology. That's my understanding too, because we've heard Earl's voice, James Earl Jones' actual voice in Rogue One, and he had like a natural kind of weakness that you would get as you get older in it, and that I didn't detect any of that here.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Yeah, as far as I've read, they are using some sort of AI assisted thing, which is getting insanely great. Corridor Crew has a great video about artificial voice, deep fakes for voice, basically, where they
The first
basically get authorization to deep fake somebody's voice by deep faking somebody's voice.
the first time I ever saw that used was probably 10, 11 years ago, maybe, when Roger Ebert,
Hmm.
uh, uh,
He had an
he had
approximation of his
cancer
voice.
where like everything,
Oh.
like his jaw,
Yeah,
everything
he
was
lost
gone
like his
around
yeah.
here, and he went on, I think it was Oprah, maybe, it was some talk show, and they demonstrated it. Like he spoke in his old voice. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Right,
And
that was back then.
that was
That's
back.
crazy.
So they've come a long way with that. They've done it with something else too. I can't quite remember. Oh, we have Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer, who had lost his voice.
Oh, but that's his
Ne-
son, I thought, doing the in the
no, for the
documentary.
documentary, yes.
Yeah.
But
Oh, okay.
since they developed an AI compiled of all of his parts that he spoke, and I saw it on Twitter. They demonstrated it when they were promoting Top Gun Maverick, and it's like flawless. It just sounds like a young Val Kilmer, even though his son
I
sounds
see.
so much like him anyway. You could
Right.
have just
They could have just used him.
yeah.
But
I
I
love I
like
love Dark City. Michael Strathmore. It's an amazing film.
I've never seen it.
Alex Proyas's life.
Dark City is the one with
At least his first two movies.
Rupert Sewell, right? That's the one with Rupert Sewell.
Yeah, I believe that's his name.
Yeah, that's a great
Sewell, right.
movie. You've never seen it, PJ?
I've always intended to watch it. It's ever since it came out, like in the '90s. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
Yeah,
this
pretty
looks
good.
98 or
interesting,
something.
and I've never gotten around to it.
I wonder how it would hold up now. I haven't watched in a while.
Braxton also asks, have we seen those force powers outside the Force Unleashed video games? Having watched the movies, TV shows, and played the video games, that really stuck out to me. Which force powers? Oh, Michael also asked, which force powers specifically? The Force Unleashed is awesome. It's my favorite, especially part 2 is my favorite thing. And I heard I have to play. What is it that I have to play that's like better than the Force Unleashed?
There's a lot of good Star Wars games.
But
Knights
the
of the
one
Old
that's kind of
Republic,
like it's I think that
uh,
one, Old Knights of
and
the
then the
I
Old
forget which one.
Republic is the MMO, which is really good too.
There's a game, anyways. But yeah, the Force Unleashed has awesome powers. It's just that now they can do a lot more with the visuals than they could when the original trilogy came out. So it seems like the Force is less. There's less you can do with the Force later on, or I don't know, like. But that being said, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to see some of the Force abilities that were shown.
Well, it's an interesting kind of discussion to have one night about what you thought the Force was like and what Jedi were like, based just on the original trilogy,
Yeah,
and then what we eventually seen
find
them as,
out.
basically,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's true.
Because that was an interesting thing for me when I watched the prequels, which is I had never thought of the Jedi, even though they fought for justice and whatnot. I never thought of them as space cops, and that's kind of what the prequels made them to be. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't want them to be. I want them to be samurai who get called for super special missions, and
Weren't
they're
the
otherwise like talking to trees out in nature somewhere and just training.
Were the samurai in real life not like a huge whenever the shogun or whatever would call, wouldn't he have like hundreds of samurai fighting in his
Not,
armies or
not
something?
I don't know about hundreds of samurai.
Are they
Samurais
more
were
like ninjas? Were ninjas ubiquitous in that sense where it was like they're
samurais were
like the
kind of a
muscle?
higher kind of order of
Yeah.
soldier, basically, where there's less of them because it's more elite.
Mhm. Like maybe the true Jedi are like very
Not to hate on the
few.
prequels or anything. I was just
Yeah.
kind of something I always remembered
Surprise.
when I watched the prequels.
I hate.
And sorry to cut you off. And the final thing, without going to the force powers, is that in the original trilogy, like you kind of think that I kind of thought like each Jedi kind of can do certain things, but that's it. There wasn't like this, they all can seem to kind of be able to force push and force jump and force, it was more like superpowers. It was kind of more individual, and then you train with a sword too. But so it's interesting how it became superpowers over time.
Yeah, I think in the sequels they really kind of stretch it to that level, but
With the force time.
well, everything like I think of it as like I take the title literally, like the Force Awakens, to mean that something has evolved in the Force, and that's why everyone's like so much more powerful. Maybe because of how, like, kind of what they kind of go through with the whole theme of like whenever there's like extreme power on one side, the other side kind of spontaneously comes to meet
Right,
it. You know, like
right.
so like Kylo Ren had become so insanely powerful, and the Emperor as well, I guess, behind the scenes, that Rey spontaneously, and also she's a Palpatine, so she like so she has this like inherent like insane, power, whatever. We don't know the whole story, but like maybe maybe the Emperor failed with his Darth Vader experiment, because that's kind of like a son. He supposedly manipulated the midi chlorians, so we don't know the story of like the other son that created Rey, but maybe he was like a more perfected version of a midi-chlorian super being or something. I don't know, like that story wasn't told. Maybe we'll get that story in these sequel series like Mandalorian and Ahsoka. Maybe we'll see that. uh and a lot of people say that those series are enhancing the sequels. But yeah, who knows? Yeah, Force is weird, and later on it gets weirder and weirder.
But I guess it's kind of like
But you're right, in
Superman
the original trilogy, it's very magical.
and light. It's very tame, like very not what's the word I'm looking for? Like not extroverted. I guess is probably the bad wrong word, but like not it's not like flashy or anything. I mean, again, that was a limitation of the technology too. Who knows what the hell Lucas would have done? Well, we do know what he would have done.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like I just started thinking about it. It's kind of like Superman. Superman initially could just jump really high, and now he can fly and like push planets and do all this stuff. Over time, I guess it just naturally becomes kind of more powerful. Oh,
What's that there, PJ?
It's a cat.
Oh, okay. Oh, I hear the purring.
it's what's for dinner. The other white meat.
I thought I heard purring. So Braxton was saying yes, the rocks and how Vader ripped open that ship. Yeah, that's more, I think, inspired from the video games for sure. We started seeing Force abilities like that, at least in the Force Unleashed, where you'd have to like use the Force to tear things open, or stuff like
The
that.
comics did
Yeah,
a lot of that too.
a lot of that too, because you could go
Yeah, exactly.
further in the comics. Now you can do almost any, I mean, like when Kylo Ren freezes a blaster bolt mid-air, I thought, oh, that's cool, and it makes sense, but it's also a new force ability that we never saw. You're like, why didn't like Obi-Wan use that? It's like, so I think you're right in the sense that like maybe certain force users hone in
Yeah,
on
maybe.
certain things, and like they can master certain aspects of the force, and that's why like maybe each Jedi kind of masters a different type of force use or something like that.
Right. Some are better at mind tricks. Some are better at right
That's the Jedi I want to be.
mind trick.
Mind trick Jedi. Like no one knows. You just like suggest, the power of suggestion. Just go. You walk into
You will
a.
hand me the last chocolate chip cookie. That's the extent of my evil.
Like someone who's so good at it that you could even make the Emperor forget they met you. Like you get brought in front of the Emperor and you're like, you will
Mm.
forget everything about this and release me. And the Emperor doesn't even know that they ever even encountered you, but you can't do anything else. You're not good at levitating things. You're
Mm.
bad. You're
No, yeah,
bad
you're
at.
just you're just a
You're like
trickster.
a trickster
I'm
Jedi.
trying to make
Yeah.
in Dungeons and Dragons now kind of like a bard a bard college of whispers who can kind of tell people what to do,
Oh, right on.
and they can't
Uh,
really do anything else.
Michael Strathmore says Jedi Fallen Orders, and that's right. That's the game I'm supposed to play. Um, regarding force powers, Rey, Luke, Yoda, etc., all levitate rocks. Rey being the most impressive of the three. I don't know what Obi-Wan did in this one. I think kind of outshines Rey a little bit. She just moves rocks out of the way so people can get out of a cave. Obi-Wan just starts blasting Vader and pummeling him with rocks.
Like he
Ruben,
could
what'd you think of
demolish a
the
building with those powers.
You could. It's true. We've seen in the speaking of the video games, or even in the cartoons. I feel like with the cartoon version, not the animated version, Yoda takes down a whole Star Destroyer on Coruscant with force powers. If I'm not mistaken, we've seen that. We might have seen that in the video games. So
Well,
there are.
the comics, Luke destroys a few spaceships. I'm pretty sure. I think they were called. I forget what they were called. Father, you probably remembers the World Devourers or something like that. And he takes one down, I believe, with the Force. And
Yeah,
they were
so
huge.
that's pretty awesome. I mean, so yeah, you could, what Obi-Wan does is like nothing compared to the true the true power of the Force.
The power.
Yoda lifting the X-wing seems like nothing if you canonize what Yoda does in the comics and some of the Jedi do. It's true. Leia and Luke do things we've also never seen before or since.
Well, Leia flies through space.
I love that. I love it. I know.
I'm Mary Poppins, yo.
I love it. I love every second.
Twiddly-dee, there's a star in the sky.
I love it. I know what it looks like, but I love it. To me, it's like, yes, Leia, yes, you can.
Two more.
Apparently, Obi-Wan forgot he could jump incredibly high and run like the Flash. It's true. I guess you can lose certain abilities too. Maybe that's true.
I wish that Qui-Gon at the end would have been like, did you forget you have particular skills that are good for this situation?
Hello there. What did you guys think of how Leia turned out finally in the end? Like, what did you think of the whole way they tied that nicely into a bow and explain why she doesn't quote unquote remember him in A New Hope?
Well, he suggests keep your knowledge keep what happened on our adventure just kind of between us. You don't want to bring it up. So I guess when she leaves the message on R2-D2, she's like, yeah, you work for my father, making out I don't really know you that well. I guess that's okay. That's fine.
Or she forgot so hard.
No, I don't. I think it's the other. And I think also that's why she gets excited when she's like, Obi-Wan's here, when Luke tells her in the prison cell, she gets really excited. And there's now, I don't know, you can kind of retcon read it, when she kind of pauses and looks at Obi-Wan and he glances back at her. That's this moment of Obi-Wan acknowledging oh, there's Leia. It's nice to see her. At least I get to see her one more time before I become one with the Force. And he's probably remembering his cute little adventure with her.
I mean,
his made-for-TV movie.
I could headcanon that she's young enough that maybe she even did just naturally kind of forget, with all the other crazy stuff she probably did later in life and being a princess at an early young age and whatever. Maybe she just forgot.
She probably doesn't.
9 years.
She probably doesn't realize the importance of it, I guess, or she probably didn't realize the full scope of it. But I don't think she'll forget. It seems like he made a formative impression on her because she puts on the holster at the end, and she's very, she's very aggressive diplomacy. We're gonna have to change some things here, Dad. That kind of thing. So I feel like maybe. It's not that she forgot. It's just that she's really honoring her mentor. And I like that Obi-Wan gets to be her mentor. That's a new spin
maybe
on Leia.
In the 9 years between now and then, she gets on a nasty spice habit. Just wipes her memory of for 3 years of her life.
But Ruben, she also names her son, who tragically becomes a mass murderer after Ben Kenobi.
Oh, no. The greatest person in the show is Obi-Wan, who can kill basically the most evil person in space. But it's nah, peace. You did it to yourself. You do it to yourself. You do.
It is sad that his namesake becomes a master. Like Obi-Wan, when Father jokes about how Obi-Wan keeps failing, it's not untrue. There is a certain point of view that you can look at it where you're like, oh man, like poor Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
Ewan
that's why I
McGregor's
found some.
performance and the little girl who plays Leia, they're both really good.
Yeah, I thought
Uh,
so
I
too.
don't, I think Leia is a sociopath. The girl has no emotions on her face. She always has the same look on her face. She's just good,
what?
bad.
No, what? I
I
didn't see
disagree
that.
with that. Yeah, but what were you gonna say, PJ?
Uh, Ewan McGregor at the end with Darth Vader. He's like, my friend is really dead, and blah blah blah. I was looking for the reason why he wouldn't kill Vader, and I thought something was going to interfere with the fight and like separate them, but it's like no, he pities him, and it's a great line like uh you Anakin is dead, I killed him, and Obi-Wan's like, well, my friend is truly dead then. See ya.
He says goodbye,
It's
Darth,
like
which is the
goodbye,
new
Darth, which
the new
ties
bye
into
Felicia.
yeah, but it ties into the New Hope when he calls him Darth.
Darth, yeah, it does
Yeah,
tie in
it's like
nicely. I feel like he also, people are complaining about him and Riva not killing, and I'm like, that's odd that you're complaining about that. I mean, I get it. Darth Vader goes on to mass murder more people, so it would have probably been better. But I feel like the Emperor would just have popped a new worse thing in his place. I think it is better to have
And in
mercy
the
and
meantime,
pity
you
him.
you take back Imperial ground because they've lost a important figure. So I take my chances with the next guy. If I have 3 years before he finds another Darth Vader, 5 years, 10 years. Apparently, lightsabers are just like stun sticks now because you can get stunned right through the fucking gut.
The Inquisitor has two stomachs. You know,
And if you just got enough revenge in your heart, bro.
I would have liked it if I. So we got to talk about Riva, but I'll just say that you reminded me. I would have liked it if she had like such a. She was holding on to the anger so much that when she finally let it go, that she force disappears, and that's what kind of turns Obi-Wan on to like the that there's things about the Force you still don't understand yet type of
that would have been
thing,
good.
right? It might have been interesting, like if she just became one with the Force when she let go, because she was always suppressing the innocent child. She got like assimilated, if you will, into anger. She got like into this revenge mode. Is your light flickering when you do
No,
that?
the cat's at the
Playing with the string
yeah
with the
playing with
thing.
the headphone cord.
But she got like tuned into anger as a really young child, so maybe like when she let go of the anger and she couldn't kill Luke, but maybe they have plans for Riva's character. I don't see what they could do from here with Riva, because the interesting thing about her was that she was so angry and evil. I think now that she's just a good guy, she's still interesting, but the drama's gone. I think she was the thing that had the most stakes for me in the series, is like how she would, what is she gonna do next? She's crazy, like that kind of thing, like I was enjoying Riva. What about you guys?
Um, I damn cat. Uh, I think it's a confusing character. Okay, you're you're joining the dark side to eventually kill Vader. When she does it, it's like no. I mean, obviously he's gonna see it coming. He knew the whole time, and then she goes after Luke. And I gotta say, like when they're cutting away from the Vader Obi-Wan fight to that, I'm like, no, get back to the thing that I'm interested in. Like I like the nostalgia bait just as much as anybody else, and that worked for me. Like the Vader Obi-Wan fighting. The only complaint about that is the environment. But with Riva, it's like, okay, well I know you're gonna go after the kid, and then you're not gonna do the thing. That was a little bit. It's kind of painfully predictable. That part. I was more interested in the Vader stuff. I do like the end when she's like crying and realizing like I'm messed up, I'm I'm like far gone. Uh, and that was probably the best performance from her in the show. A little bit of a confusing character though. I think about what she did though. She like cut off that woman's hand, and I have no sympathy for her character. Even when
She somehow duped Vader for like 10 years.
or did she?
I don't think she ever duped
Vader
him. He
knew.
said, "Yeah, he said
Vader
I knew
knew.
all along." He was. That's the thing that I'm having
It's
trouble
like,
figuring out. Like,
I mean, that's even dumber.
well, no, because she's just a tool to him. He's just using. Vader's gonna use anything.
If Vader can see that far into the future,
he can't see into the future, but he knew that. I think what he did is he knew that she would betray him, and I think he relished in that kind of thing. Like it's like almost to me, the Sith seem to like. They seem to see it as like challenge accepted. Like let's see how you're gonna betray me. It keeps them on their toes, so to speak. No, really. Like I think there's proper evidence of that, and there's always been
hey,
like that.
I know this dude next to me is gonna stab me, but let's see how he tries.
No, really, like it's a brutal.
No, oh, I know this dude's gonna stab me. Take away all his knives.
That's not
Almost-
how the Sith work, though. They love fear. Like that's what they like thrive on fear and anger. So if they're not always in that state, like if they're not constantly like creating fear and then also being angry, I feel like they weaken. You know, which is why the Emperor senses in
That's
Vader.
one interpretation of the Sith, because that's one of the problems with Disney Star Wars is they're not exploring this Force. They're obsessed with just making it about Jedi and this simplistic. The Sith are governed by passion. They're not necessarily governed by fear. That's the difference.
Well, yeah.
Jedi are more celibate monk-like, whereas the Sith are more flow with your passions. A lot of times that obviously goes to the dark side, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's governed by fear and terrorizing people.
Well, I wouldn't say that they're
it doesn't make any
governed
sense.
by.
Why would you have a traitor in your midst knowingly for that long? You want loyalty.
You know, looking back on it now, the twist where she's like, "Oh yeah, I was one of the younglings, and I'm really here to get revenge on Darth Vader." I almost wish they just didn't do that, and that she was one of the younglings that suffered the trauma, and that turned her to the dark side, where she embraced it. She's like,
Right. She was
I
genuinely
lived with the
evil.
pain of the trauma for so long that when I started embracing the dark side, I felt whole. And because at first, when she started in the first episode, I'm like, yeah, that's a badass character. I'm intimidating. She cuts off that woman's hand, like she's not fucking around. And then it's like they do that thing where it was like, oh well, she's secretly a good guy, I guess, but not.
You could have had her. You could have had her be so like the next like Vader levels of evil,
Yeah.
right? And then it ends with her potentially able to kill Leia, and sees, oh no, I'm doing this all over again. I'm starting a new cycle. I'm the child killer now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't do this again. That's
It
redemption.
would have worked
Not
with Luke too.
She essentially
either
does.
way,
She
either
essentially
way, yeah.
does that, but I do think that it could have been done. I do think that it wasn't. You know, the focus wasn't on her as much as it could have been to give us that reward. But for me, overall, the series did fail the character of Riva more than any other character because it also made her so awesome in the beginning. But not like in a way where I'm like, oh, it's a disaster or anything like that. But I do agree with you
Moses
guys.
Ingram is amazing though.
Yeah,
Like,
she was
I
really
wanna
good.
See her in other stuff.
But that's what I'm saying is now like what is her like, you know what I mean? Like they kind of we got her full kind of redemption arc, and now there's what is it like we're gonna see her at a soup kitchen like.
Oh, I was gonna go back and
like-
watch Queer as Folk because Braxton told me that she was on that show, so I was gonna go back and watch that.
Who does Moses? I just watched Queer as Folk. Who does Moses
like an older version of the show, I guess. Like
Ingram play in Queer as Folk? Because I've seen all three versions. I've seen the British version.
Wasn't it Queer as Folk that you told me?
She was maybe when she was very young.
Oh, maybe
That's
she's
cool.
in the new one.
You're thinking of, I think, the villain in last week's Strange New
Oh,
World.
wait, maybe yeah, because we were talking about that too at the same time.
Yeah, so
I
you're
may have
thinking.
gotten my wires crossed.
Yeah, you're thinking of Captain Angel, played by Jess James
Oh, okay,
Keitel.
yeah. I wanted to watch. Yeah, she was cool.
She's cool, and she's on Queer
Sort
Folk,
of.
and she's really cool. I will just say a little disclaimer for Queer as Folk. It's very NC-17. There is there's very little left to the imagination.
Moses Ingram was in something else that I wanted to watch.
Here,
Somebody
let's
told
check
me.
it out.
Which
Let's go to
version
IMDb.
of
The newest version. All of them have been, but this is the most racy I've ever seen.
Wasn't the second one a Canadian thing? It seemed like it was like a lot
The
of
second
Canadian
one was
actors.
American.
Okay, it must have been filmed in. It looked like it was filmed in Toronto somewhere. It used to come on
Let's
a
see.
showcase.
Oh, Moses Ingram is in the Queen's Gambit. I forgot she was in there, but
Queen's
yeah,
Gambit, Queer
and
as
she's really good in
Love,
that.
Total
I've never seen
Crossfire.
her in anything before.
I saw her
She
in
was
that,
completely new to me in Obi-Wan.
and I
She
guess
was
she's
as an actress. She was my favorite part of the show. You
Oh
know, and
wow,
Ewan
high
McGregor.
compliments.
Ewan McGregor's always solid.
What about
Considering,
Hayden? Didn't you think he was like way better than the prequels? I know you were complaining about his height or whatever, or his Vader. That
well,
he didn't,
no, I'm not
he didn't
even
have to be in
against
the news.
the
He just-
Vader thing. Just looks ridiculous to me.
really?
Yeah,
I thought he nailed
He's
it.
like tiny Vader.
Really?
Tiny Vader, you look so little.
Hold me closer, tiny Vader. You're so sometimes I don't know, Ruben. I can't even
And then
say
that's
anything.
also a problem with just the obsessive use of the volume
No.
stagecraft.
I like the smaller scale, but I also do agree that I wish Obi-Wan had been given the budget to film on location, like in Tunisia, or like the Force stuff could have been filmed like like the sorry, the I was gonna call it Endor, but the Alderaan stuff could have been filmed like in an actual climate that's like that, like maybe in Denver or someplace out in Colorado or something like that, that has like swooping mountains and like
That-
flatlands in front of it and stuff.
That's what I
The
find most
Unreal
peculiar
environments
about
don't-
Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead,
sorry.
PJ.
Wait, go
I
PJ.
was gonna say the Unreal environments feel kind of on par with the prequels in terms of I don't feel like I'm any of these places for real. Like it, I don't know. And whenever they were on Alderaan, out on the deck where the ships are, none of that felt real. The Vader fight, Vader Obi-Wan fight. While I like it, the environment didn't feel real, even though some of the CG is like photorealistic as hell. It's just it doesn't feel like a real place. It felt just as
That was the thing
real
about
as the lava place in Revenge of the Sith. I mean,
That's the thing about the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, because they filmed on location. There's something about it that
There's weight.
just
There's physics, like real physics, not
yeah.
simulated
Well,
physics.
also just like the sun. Like I think someone, maybe PJ, was pointing this out. Like when the sun shines in the volume, or in the, or what is it's called, the volume, right? Like
It has a few names. Originally it was called stagecraft, but
oh
most
okay,
people call it the volume.
or in
Or
stagecraft, or in
the AR
vol.
wall.
Yeah, the AR wall. When the sun shines in there, while it's impressive and it reflects, it's not the same as the sun shining. And I even noticed like just like the sea environment around the Fortress Inquisitorius, there's just something lacking. There's just something about when when people are around the sea, there's a quality to them that they're kind of entranced by the sea when they're actually staring at the real sea. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you're actually looking at the ocean, there's just something
Yeah,
about
I mean, there's a what do they call it, the uncanny valley that your eye has to
yes.
kind of, and a lot of it's good. Like for instance, in what was it, episode 4, the uncanny valley was completely disturbed with those speeders that looked like they were all held on like popsicle sticks or something, going in this weird angle. But some of the stuff in the Vader fight looks great. But then I don't know. I think that's why I find the show peculiar to me, and that's why I didn't really hate it. It was just interesting to me how Disney has all, I mentioned in the chats that Disney has all the time, money, I mean, literally all the time, money, and technology in the world, more than probably any studio on the planet. They could have shot that in a real rocky place with having explosions actually shoot out rocks. You know what I mean? And then add more with CG. And and even the stage wall, you can incorporate all that stuff. But I don't know if it was COVID restrictions. I don't know.
I
But
think there was an over reliance on stagecraft.
too
because
much,
of
too
COVID.
often.
Yeah.
Ironically, it is fitting considering that Obi-Wan is a bridge between the prequels and the sequels, because as PJ said earlier, it kind of has that same fakeness that there's like a weird it rhymes.
And if the stagecraft is when used well and used sparingly, it's very good. Let's just but the Mandalorian episode of Boba Fett where he's on that space station
Mm.
looks really good. But it's a dark kind of area. It's like, but when you get into the daylight things, like you said before, it looks a bit dim.
Also, just like when you're having them do a chase scene on the volume, you
Yeah,
have
you
to
pointed
edit
this
every
out
two and a
earlier.
half seconds. Like you can't because the stage is only so big, and then you can't really do 360 shots because like everything's kind of not locked, but like there's a certain depth, and it was just so much so often you could see rooms that were just this odd ovalness. Like every room it was just like, why is this room
It's
oval?
interesting that you can perceive that. I don't perceive it always, but yeah, you're right.
Not
There's
always,
probably
not
yeah,
always. Definitely, there's definitely
yeah.
times where it works really well. I just think maybe the overabundance of it, my eye eventually became trained to like just look for it, and I would see it all the time. Like I would see like these two extras are actually moving, but these guys are like just kind of like a painting back there. It's weird. It's
I gotta
weird.
pay attention now when I watch it.
But
But
and
yeah.
I love it. I love the wall. The wall's a really cool thing. But like you notice, like with a lot of the Vader fight at the end, it was very circular, which is kind of cool because samurai-ish is kind of fights are like kind of like that too. But it's limited. It's like it's weird. It's weird and just why Disney? You can go to Tunisia. You could probably buy Tunisia at this point, film it, and then sell it for a profit. Like,
Wow.
The encounter with Vader and Obi-Wan in Episode 3, that felt more like a practical place that they were running around in than this
right,
planet that
right,
they went down to. Yeah.
right. And who knows? Maybe that was freaking AR-Wall too, because it's amazing
What
how
did you think of the extent of? Okay, Obi-Wan is buried. Vader thinks it's over. He's like, "You have failed. See ya." Uh, and then Obi-Wan is like, he's clearly not dead. Obviously, we know that, but he's holding up the rocks. I thought he was just gonna like part the rocks and like climb out, but he like demolishes them, like they fly up in the air. And then when he starts fighting Vader after that, he's just like whoosh, rises all the way. And I'm like, this is, I get it when it's a little too much.
I mean, it's
It's a
the
little too
trope
crazy.
as old as time. Yeah, I
It
don't know.
became a little too cartoony when he's throwing the rocks at him like over and over. That was like a little nitpick.
I
I
did
thought
think
the
the most
choreography was
badass
good
move.
though.
I thought I liked the rocks and everything, but that wasn't the impressive thing. The cool thing was that he does what I'm always saying you could just do to Vader is he knocks the fucking life support out. Like that's the
Oh,
best
that was
move.
yeah.
When he does that move, I'm like, duh! Like that's what you do. Like just pull that shit out of Vader's suit right away using the Force. Like first encounter. Like why does no one think of that? So I love that. I love that. That's how he actually like was able to like really defeat Vader. Is that he was able to just remind him,
I
you're
mean, man,
fucking.
why not
It's
You're,
like Bane and
change
Batman. Just cut the cords with the venom or the thing that helps him breathe, and that's it.
change the instead of little Leia, you make it that Obi-Wan he's losing his mojo, but he needs to get it back. He goes on one final mission by himself to find a holocron that can give him insight on regaining his mojo. And for some odd reason, you put Vader on the same mission, and they don't even know that they're going to the same place. And then you have, oh my god, I could think of so many freaking versions of this show that would just be like ripping, man. It's just so perplexing to me that I was like, this is it.
you
Oh,
didn't work hard enough to be the person to do it. Deborah Chow did. So sorry, but.
I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment. I would
Now
probably
you
be
have to tell
fired if
the
I worked for Disney. I'd probably be like Tim Burton.
now you have to tell the next story because this one got told. So you got to like work harder and tell the next Star Wars story. You got to be You got to be Taika Waititi.
I
I
mean,
think that's where
thousands of
everyone's
writers that could pitch like a fucking
like.
killer ass.
Who's the writer? It's not Deborah Chow. She directed it.
No,
I
she's the
thought.
director. I don't know
By
who
the way,
wrote
speaking of
most of the
that,
episodes, but
I actually liked her. I don't think I've ever seen anything Deborah Chow's direct. Let me have I. Have I
she
seen
did
anything?
Mandalorian episodes, I believe.
Yeah, but like, I liked someone directing the whole series. It was nice, actually. There was a lot of things that I would normally like be troubled by that has different. I mean, I think there's
Yeah, I
goods
mean, it was
and
consistent.
I think there's goods and bads for either. Like sometimes it's good to have like different visions or whatever. But this felt like, I think one of the complaints is that TV directing is not really, I think you said this before, Ruben, where TV directing is not really directing because you're kind of like popped in for an episode and then you pop out,
Right.
right? But here
Right.
it feels like you can
Yeah.
be more
Here
of a
she got
direct
to make
she
more.
got
Yeah,
to
like a
be more of
movie.
a
Yeah.
director, right? Like making it more, and so I
Yeah.
appreciated that. And I felt that. To me it felt like there was something, a Deborah Chow vision, again, not always successful in every single sense, but like pretty good, like, I liked it personally.
I like when they promote children with guns at the end when Leia puts the holster on. The mom's like,
She he
a
said I'm
holster, cute.
she said I'm not he said I'm not going to give you a gun, and she puts her droid in it at the end, which is really adorable that she keeps Lola that she keeps Lola in there. Let me see what I've seen. So the
I
Mandalorian,
think Michael
Obi-Wan.
pointed out something about that droid. It's very much inspired by the
Oh my god,
aliens from
inspired.
Batteries Not Included.
Yes,
I think they freaking copied it out of the movie and just like
It's a
pasted
copy
it.
paste.
it
Yeah.
has the legs and the feet and everything. I feel like,
Just
well,
like how Baby Yoda is a ripoff of Gizmo from.
oh
from
yeah, I guess kind
Gremlins.
of. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Gizmo.
Let's see here. We got a bunch of comments. Let's see. Hey, Jeremiah's here. Hello, Jeremiah. Nice to see you. Daniel says, I would have liked to have seen some scenes involving Chewie. I'm glad Chewie wasn't in it, but if what do you guys think? Obi-Wan complete or Obi-Wan sequel?
If they can do something interesting without Vader, they can't have Vader back.
You can't, right? This has whole. You gotta stop it right there. And we'll see Vader or Anakin again in the Ahsoka series, anyways, right? Hayden Christensen's confirmed for that.
It's likely, yeah. Yeah, well, actually, yeah, I heard. Yeah,
Yeah, so we're gonna
Yeah, I
get more
mean-
Vader and Anakin.
they're definitely gonna milk Vader for all he's worth. I don't know if he's gonna show up in the Andor series somehow. Maybe one episode, maybe I don't know. But
I'm excited about Andor because of Mon Mothma. By the way, she's a cool character. I think that's cool.
I may be jumping the gun, but Andor looks like the most promising since The Mandalorian. It just feels like more serious, a serious series. I don't know if you saw the trailer, but I mean, it just visually it just looks superior to Obi-Wan and Boba Fett.
I can't. I
Nothing
can't
has
wait.
quite reached the Mandalorian
Andor.
level since.
Andor,
No live
is that the
action Star Wars
character
has
from
reached that
Rogue
level
One?
Yes, Cassian Andor, exactly.
Oh, okay.
That
What they're
character.
doing is they're doing with live action. They're filling in the gap between the prequels and A New Hope, and they're filling in the gap between Jedi and The Force Awakens. So you have Obi-Wan, which I think is done. I mean they've hinted that they're coming back, so maybe they will. But you have Obi-Wan. Ahsoka is when it's after Jedi, but then I suppose like a few years after the events of this series, that's when Andor takes place. I doubt you're ever going to see Leia or anything because they don't want to. I don't think they want to have a teenage Leia so close to the 19-year-old.
Leia.
Right. Well, she'd
CGI
also
Leia they
still
had in
only
Rogue
be she would only be like 12, 13, so it wouldn't be much different. So I don't know. But we might see more Bail Organa, which would be cool to see him at
I think Jimmy Smith was confirmed to be in it. So
right. So yeah, that's cool. And then again, that actor who they got to play Mon Mothma is pretty cool. I like her. I didn't realize Deborah Chow did like an episode of Jessica Jones. I love that show. The Man in the High Castle I've not seen. Iron Fist. So she Mr. Robot, but she's only done like an episode here or there. And as far as movies are concerned, I don't see any. But she's done a lot of good TV. She does.
She should be.
She's
Storm.
done Better Call Saul.
She should be Storm in the X-Men.
Deborah Chow?
No, Moses Ingram.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's already working for Disney.
Yeah, she could play.
She'd be
Storm.
she'd be a cool Storm.
She's
Older
done
Storm,
like
I
she's
don't
done a
know.
lot, American Gods. She's done a lot of great shows. She should do Star Trek. I nominate Deborah Chow for a Star Trek series or
I'm
an
annoyed
episode
that
or
if
two.
you get impaled with a lightsaber, you can just like shake it off.
How many times
Usually,
did
getting
it-
impaled is pretty serious stuff.
I mean, right through the gut, through that thing called the spine. Is it?
Spleen, anything.
Yeah,
Could
all
have
that
hit a
stuff
number
down
of
there.
organs.
Michael points out practical effects complemented by VFX folks. Nothing beats it. My goodness, Top Gun alone proves
Amen.
this. I haven't seen Top
I
Gun,
haven't
but
seen Top Gun either.
what did you guys think of the deaths? I mean, the Star Destroyer scene that looked good. It looked practical
I
mixed
mean,
with
other than
CG.
they're like blind, I guess they
No, I know, but
can't
like just
shoot. They
visually,
can't hit the.
visually speaking, didn't it give you like a little bit of
It did. No, it looked good. It
it
looked
looked
good.
good, right? Like it
Yeah.
looked
It
good.
looked as photorealistic as a model, which is jarring because a lot of the ship CGI in the show is not up to
Right.
par. It
Right.
really isn't. I mean, I'm watching half the ships that land. Like this couple of times where a ship lands on Alderaan and that port or that docking place doesn't look good. There's one at the end when Obi-Wan comes out of it. I'm like, it looks phony as hell. And with the thing with 4K now, the high detail you're watching it in, visual effects flaws stick out so much more. But with the good visual effects, you know, look that much better. So it's a double edged sword. I
That's where I'll
suppose.
give Mando one up. It did look like they went full CGI here. Like they didn't build like those support vessels, like because the look change, and it's true the look does change when you have like the practical that's only enhanced by CGI. It looks totally different than the fully CGI stuff. Uh,
CG seems to have a similar problem, or the use of CG now. Reminds me of kind of like video games. When like a video game would come out, when Grand Theft Auto 3, it was like, holy crap, look at those, state of the art graphics. And then 5 years later, Grand Theft Auto 4, and you're like, holy crap, and you go back and look at 3, and it's like, ugh. Like they don't age as well as as like when they overuse it. I don't know. Sometimes that happens too. Again, it's use. I think it's just use, like what wasn't Michael said. Like we think of Jurassic Park as a CG movie, but there's not that much CG in it. It's just
No.
used smartly.
the first Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
Yeah, after that it.
it goes
Uh,
it goes downhill quick.
yeah. I'm Michael says I'm pulled out when digital footage tries to add film grain to the imagery. There were a couple of moments in the show when there was a dirty, grainy look, but because it's not film, looks not that good. I have to go back and
And
I guess I have to watch the whole series a third
I
time now
I
because I
think that
didn't think it was that bad.
I feel like the camera shake is fake too, which is annoying to me.
there was an awful lot of handheld camera in this episode. That makes it feel somehow cheaper. I don't know. There's something about like just properly framed widescreen shots that are well composited or uh, well framed, and they don't like move around a lot. I can understand like camera movements, like panning over here or there, but they have when Darth Vader's on the Star Destroyer, they have a great like wide angle shot of him walking down the middle, and then the rest of it's like this handheld kind of. And I know Sean gets annoyed with too much handheld too, like if it's overused.
And it's got to be done right, and
That's the thing
it's
with
weird.
TV. Like this feels like very TV in the fact that there's not that like Stanley Kubrick y kind of like precise framing wherever like the shots just go so well from one shot to another. It's kind of like good shot, kind of crappy handheld shot, good shot. It feels like the what everybody expects with these new shows is that they're little mini movies. They are in fact not. They are just episodes of a TV show, and they do feel like that. They do have bigger budgets now with better technology, but this is not movie level.
Right.
Even
The
the
pacing.
Solo movie, which I say is like a TV straight to video movie, even that is like
Cinematic.
very cinematic compared to
Right.
this. Yeah. I feel like
Um,
I'm crapping on it, but I did enjoy a lot of it. It's one of those things. It's like hovers in the middle, where like I can't quite get mad at it, but I can't quite praise it.
Michael, I think Obi-Wan went into berserker mode and didn't need to do those faces anymore. In that moment, he was just like touching on the dark side a little bit.
That's what I felt too. Like the only way Obi-Wan was really kicking his ass was because he was fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And he promised Leia earlier. Remember, he's like,
I'll be there. I'll
but
be
he
back.
wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I love that kind of acting. Ewan McGregor's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I just wish he was given like something like a little fucking juicier than
Jeremiah says
a Darth Vader encounter. But yeah, whatever.
I understand because canon, but Obi really should have ended Vader. But that's like, I think, to me, I'm going to always argue about this point because that's the whole point of even Luke can't kill Vader. Like, in the end, Vader kind of ends himself in a way because, and I don't see it anymore as a redemption story. Now I see it as a justice story. Like, I used to see Vader's story as a redemption arc, but now after like what he's done, I can't really see him as a redemptive figure. He's a figure who gets his justice served, and it happens to be by himself. Which sometimes is the only way you can punish someone who does heinous crimes, is that they end up punishing themselves or ending themselves. But yeah, even Luke's everyone else sees Anakin as someone that they loved once or is important to them in some way, and I think that's the other thing is it would. One of the things Padme says is Obi-Wan, specifically, there's good in him. So it's better for Obi-Wan to walk away, I think, than actually kill him, because that would, I think, also turn him to the dark side. Is kill. That's the whole point is you're supposed to slay the apprentice of the Dark Lord of the Sith, and take their place. So I think it just couldn't happen. Mechanically, it's not built into Star Wars for Obi-Wan to ever, obviously because we know the future also, but I just don't think there's any iteration where Obi-Wan would have killed, maybe in a what if, I don't know, in a what if series or something. But yeah, what do you guys think? What's your thought on that? I know you agree that it can't be changed, obviously, because like
I was
it
like,
has
screw
to...
it, change it. I mean, I thought Luke was done for. I thought Vader was done for. They should have subverted my expectations.
But yeah, as a thought experiment,
Leia picks up a blaster and just mows everybody down.
That I could see happening, actually.
It's my galaxy now, MFers.
PE's here. Greetings. I just finished watching the episode. I was impressed. It was the perfect bridge between the Obi-Wan series and A New Hope. Hello there. Let's see what else.
I think they meant the prequels in A New Hope, right?
Yeah, that's what I think PE meant. Vader ended up killing Palpatine, so because of that, you could view it as being a redemption story. And yes, I am pretending that the rise of Skywalker never happened. A lot of people pretend that the rise of Skywalker never happened.
Let your hate flow.
Do you guys have any... I do want to talk, sorry, before we go, and I hope I don't keep you guys here too long. Baru and Owen, what do you think about the... Why is that so funny to you? Go ahead, you go first.
The whole show is just funny to me, man. Everything's just funny about it.
You go first. You go first.
Pulling out like these like 1920s looking rifles that end up being like...
I love
they
it.
turned into like
Come on.
ninjas.
But wasn't it great to get Baru being a badass? Like,
Sure,
come on.
man, sure.
She slaps the shit out of Reva like when she enters that room. I was like, oh,
I know.
damn.
Now here's the thing where Reva's not in her senses, because like Reva would have just mowed them down with like no problem before. You know
But
what I
you
mean?
know,
Like,
yeah, it takes time to recover from being stabbed through the gut with my lightsaber.
That's funny how she didn't kill either one of them when she had the chance.
well, they had plot armor because of the sequels. Is that what it? Did I use it right? I never used that term right.
I wish they would just be standing there and Reva's trying to hit them with the lightsaber and they just can't. And they're
You can't kill. What are those NPCs? They're NPCs and you can't kill them.
I found the episode gets a little slow and boring after the Vader fight, like the denouement, so to say. I mean,
Yeah.
the
I
falling
like
action
that word,
is just,
denouement.
it's just, okay, we're going through the motions. Obi-Wan has to give Luke the toy. Hey, you want to meet him? Here you go. Hello, young man. Then it's like, he's got to go see Leia. It's like, in another hug, and it's like, got to say goodbye to these people. And then I was like, at the end, I was like, oh, I guess we didn't get Qui-Gon. I was like, wait a second, maybe he's gonna be. And
That's my next.
as soon as the thought left my head, I was like,
I've got a
there he
particular
is.
set of skills.
All right, so real quick, then my thought on Veru and Owen is I'm glad they got their moment to shine because they it's all downhill for.
No, they need to do a show where the two of them are like spies within the Empire. That's how they fell in love.
I will say I think Joel Edgerton, if you see his performance as Owen in the prequels, where he's like kind of, doe-eyed and young and fresh-faced or whatever, versus this Owen, I think is a really good, like he's very interesting as Owen. I think he doesn't, for like obvious reasons, he doesn't get a lot of screen time, but what he does get, I think he really delivers as far as that. And then I was very impressed with Beru, the actor who plays Beru. What's her name? Do you guys know?
No, I didn't look her up.
Let me look her up.
Jorga Weidenstein.
Ooh.
I have no idea.
Oh, I thought that was.
I just see her as Swedish or something. I don't know. Yeah. I like how
I think it's Bonnie Peace. Bonnie Peace.
Everybody has aged 17 years in a matter of 10 years.
No, they aged like 30 years. I feel like it's like a lot. I'm not gonna repeat Father's theory as to why that happens, but it's hard out there on Tatooine.
Yeah, my theory was that everybody's dry. Their skin's dry. They're just
there's no moisturizer on that planet.
Oh, I did like that she goes to a water vendor to ask for the whereabouts of Owen because she knows he's a moisture farmer. I thought that was interesting that Owen probably sells his moisture from his moisture evaporators to these vendors in town. That was a neat little thing.
You gotta have moisture.
Yeah, baby.
Not too much because the sand is what keeps Darth Vader away from Tatooine. Notice Darth Vader never comes back to Tatooine, by the way. Just
I like
FYI.
that his throne looks like the wall at the UN.
Oh, it's a little bit. That's
It's like the
weird.
same
It's a traumatizing place for Vader, though, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, that's why I'm just saying it's kind of cool that and he can't stand fire either. Like that's like there's like Vader's not just there are things about him, these little quirks.
Well, right, doesn't he live on Mustafar to remind him of like that moment to make him like more powerful or something like that?
Yeah, he's always it's part of what keeps him.
Pretty cool.
No, it is what I think that's like. I don't know if it's on screen ever, but yeah, that's the going logic with that. Michael says this actually felt like a 2-hour movie that they stretched into 6 installments. I believe that is the case. If I'm not mistaken, Obi-Wan was originally slated to be a film project. I think it was greenlit, and then I think Solo's performance changed its course, and then the pandemic happened, right? Like it all kind of...
I think they maybe changed it to a series because they knew it wouldn't work as a theatrical film. It doesn't have enough meat.
What are you talking about? It would have. That's what people were talking about with this. That it doesn't have enough meat, right? Wouldn't it feel more? Oh yeah.
Well,
you're saying it would work as a theatrical film?
No,
I mean just simply squishing down the 6 episodes and editing it is not going to get you a 2-hour movie. Not this. You have to rewrite the whole thing. You can get all the same ideas in there, but you just have to write it way more efficiently. Really, it's just
you would essentially have a movie about Obi-Wan trying to get Leia back from being kidnapped and having a couple of fights with Darth Vader, and that is a pitch. It's like, well, I can imagine some cool scenes in there, but
because you can have
like a theatrical film with some substance and then like emotional heft.
Like Leia's the daughter of a politician, right? Correct. Leia's the daughter. Right.
Well, I think he's also like a king or something.
She's the daughter of somebody very, 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 very important. So why not you could have the 2-hour movie where there's dual storylines going on, where an official guard goes out to look for her, and at the same time, Bail Organa asked Obi-Wan in secret because he knows that a Jedi, an Inquisitor, is involved. An Inquisitor stole Leia, and then you have the whole season mostly be about him trying to get to Leia, while Leia's, just captured by these people. Maybe you make it a little bit older because it's a little weird, but like I don't know, I just wouldn't have Leia on this show. Forget it, forget it. We have to go with what we got.
I'm the
But
opposite, but yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's again different ways to peel a cat, but I was satisfied with this. I thought it was a little. I thought it was a little like it was funny what you said when I was like they have the Star Wars movies always have like a kid appeal to them, which is true. I think George Lucas said he writes it for 10-year-olds or something like that. But I did think it was funny, Ruben, that you were talking about how like Star Wars is a kid's story with lots of murdering in it, which is true.
with the limbs being cut off, and
uh,
he childized it for sure because he saw the green coming, baby.
let's see here. They can kick Reva's butt, but all that blue milk rotted Baru and Owen's joints. Their ability to fight off the Empire that turned them into jerky Bruce. And oh my god, that's awful. Oh, poor Baru and Owen. Since Reva's left alive, she could end up becoming anything. She and Jar Jar Binks could be traveling the galaxy, having all kinds of adventures. Oh my god, can we get that?
Riva and Jar Jar
Oh
on
my
the adventure to galaxy.
Michael is saying sincerely, the dude that plays Owen in the Joel Edgerton, I think is he Australian? Yeah. Owen is in this show is tremendous. Very little to work with, but hits it out of the park. Nice weight to the performance in a show full of cartoonish performances. Mustafar is a good place to live if one wants to stoke a fiery, murderous rage. All right, and then last but not least, Qui-Gon Jinn. What did you guys think of Qui-Gon Jinn as a character before, from the prequels? Like, how do you guys feel about Qui-Gon? Ruben, I always remember you liking Qui-Gon, right? I feel like
I didn't really have a problem with most of the actors in the prequels. It was really,
but Qui-Gon the character. I mean, like, I thought I thought you liked that as he was like a positive addition to the
yeah, for the most part, I liked all the Jedi that they had in the prequels. I mean, that we really met.
What about you,
Sith was pretty cool too.
PJ? How did the Qui-Gon thing land with you then, Ruben and PJ?
I didn't think much of him. I mean, he's in the first movie. I can't remember much. Even I've seen the prequels only like a few months ago, maybe. It's like,
Qui-Gon's an interesting.
When he dies, there's no emotional impact.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of
the first time I saw it.
You know, Liam Neeson's a solid actor, and he's a typical kind of rebellious but still follow the order kind of teacher.
He's very tall.
I love the purring of your cat, PJ, that we can hear it. What's interesting to me about Qui-Gon is that, like, what you were talking about, Ruben, where you didn't expect the Jedi to be the way they were. Qui-Gon kind of reminded me of, like, what the Jedi were like. He kind of echoed how Obi-Wan talks about the Force and stuff like that. There was less of a, like, there was less of a adherence to dogma and more, or like I would say, not that there's a less of an adherence, but he was less.
He was a gray Jedi, which is something, or close to it anyway, as we've seen on screen, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what is interesting to me. There's so much stuff you could do with the Force that's beyond just Jedi and Sith. There's so much. It's crazy. There's so much.
Well, that's what Luke is. I
don't even know half of the legacy.
That's what Luke is essentially saying in
like
in
the
Last Jedi. Yeah.
But even beyond that, there's just so much you could do with gray Jedi. You could have had Obi-Wan forced away from Luke for a while on this important mission where he meets a youngling who's now grown up, who survived, but she's still been practicing, but she's not very good because she wasn't properly, trained long enough. But they have to go on this mission together, and maybe she's sort of a gray, and he's pulling her to that way, but he's got to be, like, oh my God, you can just do so much shit with Obi-Wan. And it's just like, here you go. Meat packing meth addict Obi-Wan living in the desert, stalking some boy. Like, I don't feel like he has to be watching Luke 24 hours a day. He could have been helping Jedi escape the planet, once in a while or something. Like, I'm sorry, I always go into like speculation mode.
Even Owen's like, dude, get a life.
It's an interesting thing to me on a personal level. While I think I mentioned that I was surprised that Obi-Wan was the way he was. as well. But to me, on a personal level, it is very cathartic because I feel like Obi-Wan and Picard are speaking to me in a weird way personally. Like just like don't like lose focus. You know, I think I quoted there were things that Qui-Gon has said that are really profound that have stuck with me. Like your our focus determines our reality. I've always felt that has like a very strong resonance of truth because it's true. Like you see it every day. Like some people are super focused on something and you can tell they also see reality around that focus. And so I've always loved that. To me, Qui-Gon is the ultimate what if. Like what if Qui-Gon had trained Anakin? What would have the outcome have been then? I think that's the thing that's so tragic about Anakin and Darth Vader is that in a sense he lost the one person who like truly believed in him, like, you know. And then he was kind of thrust into this life where no one else, like everyone was like, yeah, we love Qui-Gon, we respect him, we're going to raise, you know, Anakin will fulfill his wishes, but no one really believed he was the chosen one the way that that Qui-Gon did. So I feel like that might have played into, that was a factor that led to, I'm not trying to blame anyone because everyone's kind of to blame, but I think that's definitely a factor that led to Anakin losing his focus because he was very keen on listening to Qui-Gon from a young age. They were just very bonded. Like they, you know, like he was very like it felt like that Qui-Gon was supposed to really help him out, which is sad because I kind of wanted the Qui-Gon ghost thing to be. I agree a little bit with that. It was just a cameo. It was cool, but it would have been neat if Qui-Gon played a bigger role in the series, and maybe they could have explored some of that. Like maybe we had learned that in a moment of weakness, maybe Anakin could sense Qui-Gon even. We do hear Qui-Gon yelling at him when he's slaughtering the Sand People. Yoda's having a vision of the slaughter, and you hear a new version of Anakin, like telling him to stop. You know, so there is hints of it in the prequels. So it would have been interesting to see that relationship, kind of like a haunting almost, like what they intended for Luke and Kylo. It would have been neat if Qui-Gon was haunting Vader as well. But, you know, say lovey. At the end of the day, though, if all we got was, if Liam Neeson only wanted to put on the costume for a cameo and that's all we got, I was pretty pleased with it because it does leave you with the idea that now Obi-Wan's going to go and become like more of the badass, you know, at peace Jedi that we see later portrayed by Anakin, who can become one with the Force. Like that training's going to happen, you know. And like Ruben, you were talking about, you know, we don't have to really see it because it's a bunch of meditation. So it's like, I mean, you were like, I want that show. I want to see a show where like
Where Obi-Wan actually struggles to gain his does actually struggle to earn his powers back.
We needed a training montage, but like hearts on fire, strong desire.
Let's see. PE says if Qui-Gon had lived, then all of the stories in the following movies could have been averted. He could have raised Anakin right, and he could have stopped Palpatine before he gained power. I believe Qui-Gon would have been a formidable adversary for Palpatine as well. Liam's check cleared. He'll be back.
Liam Neeson has never done TV before, I don't think.
No, I think this is his first TV. Is that
It's
right?
a bit below him. I think he talked about like TV is a bit small. He likes the grand theatrical big screen stuff. I bet he watched Obi-Wan.
Sit on when I kill my dinner.
Guys,
Are
I need
these Lucky Charms just for kids?
guys, we're I think I'm out of stuff.
Tricks, not Lucky Charms. I'm doing Irish stereotypes now.
You're allowed. It's fine. You have some heritage. He does. He has some heritage, so it's fine. That's why I can. By the way, I do a very good impression of Mrs. Marvel's mom, Kamala's mom, and I might do it another time when I've had a few drinks. But I do a very good impression of her.
I do a good one too. No,
You do. We'll do it offline.
Yeah.
Anyways, final thoughts. Let's wind it down, and then we'll see everyone on Friday. We'll talk about the whole season, and hopefully, Father can join us then. And if you guys want to kick it to talk the whole season, I'd love to have you guys back on.
I'm in the future because I'm in Friday already, and you guys are you guys are still no.
We're on.
No,
You're on Thursday.
I'm thinking it was Thursday. Yeah, I'm forgetting this is Wednesday, or it was Wednesday 20 minutes ago. Don't mind me. I'm tired and I'm hungry.
So no final thoughts overall.
Is that all right? It's okay.
It's all right.
It's all right.
Ruben finds it weird, but good. Weird, but okay.
Yeah, it's just curious to me. It's just curious that that's it. That's the best you could do, really.
I could tell
5
from-
hours and that's it.
I could tell from your ideas, Ruben, that you really love Star Wars, and even though I was being a little bitchy earlier, I do really mean it. You should work harder and get into Star Wars. And
No,
start
I'm lazy as fuck.
contributing.
Fuck that shit.
You're
But what I do find interesting about Star when I do watch new Star Wars, because I haven't really watched Mandalorian. I only watched 2 episodes. Well, an episode and a half, but then the copy I was watching kind of got glitched. And I never tried watching Boba Tea. But when I watch Star Wars stuff, like the prequel or the sequels on this show, it always spurs me to start writing variations of what I just saw, and then that spurs some new idea that all I have to do is just morph it away from being Jedi or whatever and turn it into its own kind of sci-fi thing, you know? And it's happened to me with the sequels and now with the Obi-Wan show, where I wrote this kind of weird synopsis, and then I was like, that's kind of an interesting idea for a story. How can I make this not Star Wars and just move away?
You guys don't know this, but every time I see a Star Wars presentation, I'm inspired to write an erotic short story and post it on the what is that fan fiction forum where they post erotic stories?
Oh, imagine on the IOP or whatever it's called, just going to town.
So no, I actually came up. My erotic story, of course, has to do with Obi-Wan and Vader, but you have to go read it. You have to find my pseudonym and no, I'm just kidding. I don't actually do that, but it's a good idea. All right, well, this was fun. Thanks, audience. There's a lot of cool comments from you guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. PJ, are you doing your stream tomorrow night?
If all goes to plan, I should be. Yes.
Very cool.
Unless the episode of Strange New Worlds is so bad
that you don't even want to do it.
I just completely deflate it, and I don't even want to go on the internet.
I don't know why I was. But doing
I don't.
This.
I think the show has been doing pretty good. It definitely has. There's definitely room for improvement, but it's the best live action modern Trek we've gotten so far. And Ruben, don't say it. That's not saying much, but yes. You said that before. What I said it's the best live action, and you agreed, but you're like, that's not saying much.
Yeah, I agree.
Ruben has to be contrary. Ruben can't just give the flowers. He has to give it with thorns.
That's not true.
With thorns. You have to give it with thorns. There's got to be a thorn in there. I love it.
In regards to this live action Star Wars continuing,
it's an improvement.
They can't keep it at Boba Fett, Obi-Wan levels. Like you should aspire to be at least as good as Mandalorian. So, I mean, come on, folks. I mean, come on.
All right, cool. Well, we'll see you guys on Friday. I'm doing a space tomorrow before PJ's show, usually, for Strange New World. So check that out. It's only available on Twitter. Then Friday nights, we have our friend Fathery doing his Text Trek program, which comes on at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And then after that, on Friday night, we'll be back to talk about the entire season of Obi-Wan and see if there's any other new information. And I'll have slides put together for that. So we'll do like some visual recollection of each episode type of thing, go, episode by episode. And then Saturdays, we do a discussion of Star Trek The Original Series. This Saturday, however, it's looking like I have to postpone it one more time. I'm so sorry, audience that loves that TOS stuff, but I guess I'm protracting the ending because we're almost finished with it anyways. So I do apologize for that.
Oh, I can start doing it again.
What's that?
I can come this next.
Yeah, and you never missed an episode actually because we've actually like postponed every episode since you left on your awesome trip to the Galapagos. Ruben, speaking of awesome trips, where can folks find you? Is there anything you're promoting?
At R Martian on Twitter. I'll usually post articles, interviews with film and TV professionals. I'm considering posting my Obi-Wan synopsis idea if I work on it some more. But I'm working on some script projects for some companies, and That's about it for me in recovering from my Galapagos trip because my house is falling apart.
You seem super chill after your vacation. I feel like vacation did good for you. So welcome back. It's nice to.
Galapagos was awesome.
Yeah, it seems like a trip of a lifetime.
It was a fun
Uh,
time.
and then last thing, on Sundays we do a Starfleet Boy Strange New Worlds casual informal discussion, and then right after I'm on Trek Central with Fathery and Captain
Trek
Jack, and
Central!
sometimes Dom. So check that out. All right, folks, I will see ya. May the Force be with you, and we will see you next time. No, there's none of that here, Ruben. This is the
There
Star Wars.
always